Oh my goodness. Happy hump day. I always have to look at the day and time to remember what day and time it is, but I will never forget the time because it is 12 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, and we are here for another episode of the Black Diva Collective. So hello, every beautiful body out there. My name is Blair G. Hervey. I am the founder and CEO of The Corporate Strategist. I am joined by my colorful co-host, my soul friend, and my bestie of 20 plus years, D'Angelo Crane. D, you want to say hi?
Well, hello, Batman to my Robin. How are you doing today? I heard someone say peanut butter to my jelly. I was like, oh, that's cute too. So all of the things. I'm always excited to be here with you, Blair Hervey, once again, the diversity geek who's here to bring love and light to this conversation as always and to the Black Diva Collective stage. So it's going to be a fantastic day. Yeah.
I always say I call you and Karen the Ethel to my Lucy. So there's that.
Yeah, I can see that. Yeah, you come up with the harebrained schemes, huh? And we just are like, let's go and do it. And then we're got chocolate all over our hands at the end of the day. Is that what? And
you've got grapes on your feet. So fun fact, everybody out there, that used to be one of my favorite shows. I used to love I Love Lucy. But I love how you call yourself the diversity geek. Maybe I'm the diva.
Oh, I love that. The diva. That's a tongue twister. Say that 5 times fast.
Diva. Okay. Anywho, well, I'm so happy to be here with you today, and I'm glad that we have this very interesting topic. But before we get into it, you have something for us?
Yes, what we do every day here on the Black Diva Collective is we do what we call the art of check-in, and it's what we're asking leaders to do all across America is just take a moment to dig a little deeper, build some significant and meaningful relationships with your colleagues and your employees by asking those questions that are not just shallow. So we want you to ask those questions around what's happening in their life, how maybe external experiences and things that are happening outside of work impacting them. So we want you to dig a little deeper, and we're going to do that now. We're going to lead by example. And Blair, how's your heart? How's your mind? How's your soul? How are you feeling today?
You know, I am super fantastic. I'm doing great. I woke up to some great news. I found somebody else to braid my hair because I'm always questioned, like, when do you start getting rebraided? And I know the answer is when the new growth starts, new growthing. But I was really concerned. Out here in Portland, usually it's $450 to get your hair braided by some of these folks. God bless them. But I usually had been going to Louisville, Kentucky. I was like, that's $1,000 flight. That's crazy. But Karen actually introduced me to someone new who's going to braid me up for like $2 something this weekend. So I'm excited about that. Edges will be back in place. And your girl is also going to be presenting at a pitch competition next Saturday. So I'm very excited about that. I was selected to do that in front of Damon John, Tabitha Brown, and so many others. So it's going to be an exciting thing. So yes, I'm doing great. In short.
That's exciting. Come on, Tabitha Brown. You got this. Everybody loves Tabitha.
We love some Tab, don't we? So, yes, but I mean, I'm really excited about Damon John. Yeah, you excited about Damon John? Yeah, Damon John is definitely a mogul out there, and he created For Us By Us, better known as FUBU, one of the first Black clothing brands in the nation in the United States. Probably, what was it, in the 90s, I guess. So yeah, I'm really excited to meet him and to pitch in front of them and to go get that grand prize.
And he's also an investor on Shark Tank. So yeah, so this is big time. Yeah, he's one of the people who's on Shark Tank. So hopefully this is like the Black Shark Tank. They're going to invest in your business. I love this.
Yes. So we'll see. But I had a great conversation with my brother this morning. So things are going very well. My son is with his father and got him into this great program. You know, so this morning was like good energy. But how are you feeling? How's your head? How's your heart? How's your soul? Look, I can see it in your face. How are you? Let's see if you're going to really tell us.
I'm all over the place, but you know what? I'm blessed and highly favored. Yes, no, but I'm definitely all over the place. Got a lot of things going on right now. Lots of good things going on. But good, you know, it is what it is. It's par for the course. I think when you're building, when you're building your future, then sometimes you are all over the place until you kind of find the right place to be in. And so that's what you got to just navigate through those waters, and right, and so you'll get there. So yes, that's what place I'm in now, and I'm in a lovely estate because I am working remotely here. And so it's beautiful, as you can see the fireplace behind me. And also I'm wearing a Black designer today. I'm on trend to find them on Instagram. So there you go, a Nigerian designer that I love.
I love it. Well, you always look great. You have definitely inspired my style and my fashion. I remember a long, long time ago when you used to buy me wide leg pants and blouses for work, but now I show up in cute little Nike gear. But you know, things have changed.
You have to bring that up because now I'm buying for myself. So random. That's so random.
I'm so grateful because when we're talking about this topic, balancing the balancing act, I think about those times. You know, that was back in the day when either I didn't have time or I wasn't sure how to either like elevate my style or I didn't have the money. And then I had a resource and a great friend and a great stylish friend who said, you know what, let me help you in this particular area. So I think that it was very timely and it was definitely helpful at that point in my life. But I'm sure you can totally relate. But you brought this topic to the TBDC virtual desk today. So talk to us about what balancing the balancing act means to you and why you brought it to the table today.
Pause for the chorus, because every time we do these shows, you know, once a week we do these shows with just us. You always tell people I bring the topic, but you actually suggested the topic, and then this is what she does. She was like, "Well, what else do you want to talk about?" And I'm like, "Well, you already suggested something." So I think you nudged the topic, and then I just agreed to it. So maybe is that how I get the person who brings it to the stage?
Perhaps, but I feel like this was a very authentic and timely topic that you could bring some passion, some fire to, and then you could definitely share that with our audience. So, you know, I'll say it was a team effort.
It was, because we both have a story. So Thomas Merton said, happiness is not a matter of intensity, but of balance, order, rhythm, and harmony. And I love that he thought about that. But I also thought about, as we're talking about this subject, that really when you think about it, have you ever heard the phrase is that when you're Black, you got to work twice as harder at the work that you're doing at the organizations? And so really when we think about it, when we think about Black workers all across America, is balance really a privilege that some of us are not afforded because, in fact, we're always having to do more and prove ourselves over our white counterparts, right? How does that play a role in us having this work-life balance, right? How does it play a role when we're moving forward and trying to grow our career and also trying to manage a house life, relationships, and all those things? So today we're talking about balancing the balancing act. Can you really do it? What does it look like? And how do we dig more into it? And since you said you want to hear from me, what I realized, and I think I would like us to go down these pathways of the three things. I was reading an article about this, about 3 important lessons of finding balance in life. And so the 3 lessons, and so let's lean into this today, is balance doesn't look like balance. Realize balance is a state of mind. And realize balance comes from being your true self, or true to yourself. So I think let's start with balance doesn't look like balance. What does that mean for you? How does that resonate with you when you hear that?
I know that we are quietly like giggling about this particular topic because we are 2 of the best people to talk about it, but also 2 of the worst people to talk about it for a plethora of different reasons. Before I jump in, I just want to acknowledge that Noel said, D'Angelo, I would gladly volunteer myself for you to style. And I'm sure he would do it and add something else to his plate. But I would say with the quote that you shared, what I thought that person was going to say was something about intentionality. So when it comes to balance, for me, it's about intentionality and it's about purpose. So before we got on the call, y'all should have seen us, honey. It was just some quiet stares for a moment because we both knew what was going on. D'Angelo is handling a lot. I'm handling a lot. And we look at it differently. But my thing is, I have learned to weed out what isn't important based on purpose. And then, of course, later aligned with passion. And then later aligned with pay. So those 3 things are really important to me. So even if I have a lot on my plate, which I definitely do right now, as long as I'm aligned or in alignment with my purpose, my passion, and pay, we good. We'll figure out a way to get 4 hours of sleep. We'll make sure that we're eating our high protein meals along with some vegetables and working out with friends a couple of times a week. That is the balance for me. It's still going to be heavy. Like you said, it's still going to be an intense workload. But as long as those 3 Ps are in alignment with my life, then I'm in alignment with what I'm supposed to be doing. And I don't worry about how heavy the weight is. What about you? What does that look like for you?
No, it's good that you said that because I think I would say I'm a kind of along the long lines when it says balance doesn't look like balance. I think about if you're aligned to your purpose or what you define as your purpose, right? Whatever that may be. And I always say my purpose is to make people feel like they belong. And so anything that I'm doing, as long as it falls into that bucket of work, I feel like that's balance for me because I'm leaning into my purpose. And to your point, there are weeks that I'm working 80, 90 hours a week on different projects, on tasks, on part-time gigs, whatever it may be. And then there are other weeks where I'm working my 40 hours of my full-time job, right? And then 20 hours with the corporate strategist, whatever that means, right? But it really is about what does that balance feel good to me because of the fact I'm doing things that I love to do and that's in line with my purpose. And so I think we got what I loved about the statement about this 3 tips, balance doesn't always look like balance, is that we think that balance is supposed to be like you're giving 8 hours to sleep, 8 hours to this, 8 hours to family. And what balance can look like is how you define it for yourself, right? And that you're getting a healthy dose of what energizes you. And whatever that dosage is that you need, figure that out, right? And some people, to your point, I know there's some nights I call you was like, you slept 4 hours. I need 6 hours, right? As I can function. So my balance is if I get 6 hours, I need 6 hours. I can't do when you be like, I did 4 hours. I'd be like, I'm a grumpy Gus when I don't get at least 6 hours. I'm a hot mess.
But see, I think that's good. But I definitely feel you. I think I really learned this around 2020 because I picked up some skills that I never thought that I would ever leverage, like lucid dreaming and, getting, 4 hours of sleep. For me, that works. I've tried recently. A friend of mine was just like, Blair, go to sleep. You need to get some sleep. So when I went to Louisville, like I was getting 8 hours of rest and I was like, you know what I could have been doing with half of that time? And for me, that is not balance. I don't need that much sleep because there are times when I, receive rest or demonstrate rest or whatever. I get rest in other ways. And I think that that's how I balance my life. I thought about another P that I would add as well. And the other P is plans.
Okay.
It's what I'm doing in alignment with my plans. I can tell you need some rest, honey. Drink that Red Bull. Sip that Red Bull real quick.
Oh, I'm saying yes. Listen to you. I'm trying to lean into what you're saying.
That's right, baby. Listen, this man is over here. He is poised. That's the other P. He is poised because he is really D'Angelo, you have so many things on your plate, and you do a great job of just making it seem like it's just like, I've got a lot of things going. But what I do love about you is that, like earlier, I was just like, here, let me just handle this, and you said, okay. Now, I think that's a part of balance as well. Now, there was a moment in my life once upon a time when I would be like, this man just, he said, okay. And he let me know. I think that's the balance in knowing I have a little bit more time and flexibility. Let me take this on. And you being the person that says, you know what? I need this right now. So, okay. Yeah. So I think that's a part of balance as well, is making sure that you can delegate and alleviate some of those tasks from yourself or relieve yourself from some.
I love that. I thought you were going to go someplace else. Balance meaning also, how do you pick the balance, but pick the challenges that you want to take on in life, right? Because sometimes you got to balance out your energy, right? And so you got to say, okay, is this worth my energy being this place, not being in the right place? How am I going to go into this call if I take on this energy that this person is giving me right now, right? Also, you talk about intentionality. Am I thinking differently of this person at this moment, right, than I should be? So how do I really rethink about this and really think about, I need some balance right now? Once again, I need to balance out my energy, my flow, and maybe I need to trade off some things to be able to do that, right? And so that's the thing I think about. I was just talking about this before the call, is that yes, I have worked plenty of part-time jobs in my life. And some of that was because for me, it was the emotional balance of knowing that I could pay off some credit cards or go on a vacation eventually. So I was like, I would sacrifice 3 or 4 hours a night, right? Because that was more important to me, was my emotional or financial balance versus my physical balance, if that makes sense.
Yeah, your plan.
Yeah, exactly. So, yeah.
And now, and that's what I was going to ask you before, because I know that that's still a part of your plan. You have some other financial goals in the next year or so, right? And so by alleviating or relieving yourself from, another part-time job, like how is that balance for you if you can't reach another goal?
Well, I think you have really inspired, and as we've been talking to so many entrepreneurs over the last several weeks, is about how do you figure out how do you continue to do what you love and redirect your energies on some more things that are more intentional about your long term goals, right? And so, and you're not the only person to tell me that. I think we think about when we think about balance sometimes what are those quick things that are going to give us that quick relief for balance? And so one of the things
Yes.
that I think that I've got to learn personally is that how do I think about what is going to create long-term balance for me, right? And so
Oh,
there may be this unequalness right now, but what is going to create long-term balance for me? And even when that balance at the moment feels, because sometimes when you're trying to figure out, when you're trying to balance everything equally, which can you
yes.
really do that? When you're trying to balance everything equally,
Yes.
is that the right thing to be doing though? That's the other
Yeah.
thing. Is that the right thing to be doing? Is there other things that need more attention and other things that don't need that much attention at that moment?
Yeah. I think about those folks who juggle balls or juggle fruit
Yes.
and, haven't seen one in person in a long time. But I'm sure once they got started, they started with just like, one, let me toss it up in the air. Let me see what my technique is. And then they added another and then they added another. And before you know it, we are wowed by them because they're up there in front of the room juggling 8 balls in the air or how many. That takes time. It takes practice. It takes intentionality. But to your point, you have to determine like, what is my ultimate goal? And I'm sure that person that started off with that one ball, they may have been practicing for an hour a day or a couple of hours a day. And until they got to a point where, okay, I have this now, I got this down, I can do more with less time, with less resources. But the ultimate goal was to be able to wow my audience, whatever that was. You're absolutely right. I think oftentimes we go into projects and we go into things and we're not thinking about like, ultimately, what do I want to get out of this? So I'll give you another example. When we're working jobs and we're feeling underpaid or we are underpaid and we're feeling overworked or we are overworked and we continue to show up with 100%. Now I know this may throw some people off a little bit, but it's just like, why are you giving 100% to something and you're not getting what you need out of that role, out of that position, out of the pay? What is the purpose? If you know what your purpose is, if your purpose is, well, Blair, I intend to get my leadership skills. I intend to make some connections here. I intend to, continue to, build a reputation or a portfolio in this space. Well, once you do that, it's time to go. It's time to move on, or it's time to get that next pay or whatever that thing is. I think sometimes we spend a lot of time in different areas, and that is actually what keeps us off balance.
Yeah, but I wonder, my question is, what do you do when you're, once again, I started off with talking about is balance of privilege, right? The Seminar 40, because I think also being thoughtful of, we've been in spaces where this is the only option we had. So we had to be in this space and exist in this space. So what do you do then when you're trying to say, I've got to work these 60 hours a week because this is what required of me, and there's no other jobs out there. I'm struggling as a Black employee who's trying to move ahead and within this organization or outside this organization.
Well, I believe we've all been there, right? But I think the other part of it is just having a growth mindset. So, I mean, I know you're saying that, at some point the reality is, or our reality is that, our options could be limited. If you don't have a degree, if you don't have the experience, if you're younger, if you are Black, if you're a woman, if you are, a triple minority in a plethora of different ways, right? But at some point we have to make a decision and say, I don't have to do this. Just because it's always been done this way doesn't mean I have to continue to live this way, work this way, or be this way. And back to your original point was, we have the privilege in our own lives to determine what balance looks like. So maybe I have to hustle and I have to do it like this for right now. But ultimately, my goal is to work a 4-hour work week at a company that is responsible, and a CEO who cares about, all of its employees, and leadership that, puts us in position to thrive. If that is my goal, that's what I'm going to continue to work towards. And I'm never going to have this fixed mentality that, this, I have to accept this. So I think that's really important for us, particularly as Black folks, is to remember it doesn't always have to be the way that it's always been. We do have some control over our lives.
Yeah, and I would add to that is that how do you give yourself grace in the meantime, right? I think we're oftentimes, I know one of the things I'm like always like, I need to call my sisters up. And sometimes I'm like, it takes me a week or two to sit down and text them. I was like, oh, I should be better at this. But I have to give myself grace about, and what I understand about them, I'll be like, well, they haven't texted me either because they're having, life is happening. They're balancing 1,000 things in their life, right? And so how do we also give people grace and understand that every relationship and everything that we're doing has a different type of balance to it, has a different type of rhythm and groove and harmony to it, right? And it does not always require us to give it the same balance as we feel like we need to give to other things, or the same effort or the same attention that we need to give to other things. And so if you give yourself grace and saying, okay, this thing may require, and I'm okay with this thing requiring 40% of my attention or my effort, and this other thing only requiring 5%, that's okay, because it's not, you don't have to do everything once again equally at a balance. You just need to figure out what your own groove is and what does balance look like for you.
I agree. I think the balance in that as well is having a balanced support system. So some of those folks are going to give you grace, but some of those folks should be on your behind. And I think that is a good balance too. I know for a good portion of my life, I was making some personal decisions that weren't the best decisions. And there were people in my support system that I appreciate, even still to this day, who gave me grace. Blair, it's not that big of a deal. Blair, don't worry about it. Blair, that's the way it's always been, just that's okay. And then there are people that have been in my life who have looked at those areas and have also said, Blair, you need to do better. You can do better. Hold yourself accountable. Elevate your circle. Make sure that you're continuing to expect what you expect of others. Hold those high standards. And I think that it's important to balance your circle. Sometimes we have too many people around us that give us too much grace, I believe. And sometimes I think we give ourselves too much grace for too long.
Oh, but then no, because I think
listen, look, this is where we disagree. Every day you cannot wake up like, oh, it's not a big deal. Oh, I'll do it tomorrow, because that's the procrastination in the Sagittarius in us as well. That can't be. Like, at some point you've got to break free and, like you said, make a decision on what balance should look like. And if it's full of so much grace, or is it this way? If it's full of so much grace, then you are going to weigh yourself down and you're not giving it enough grit. So if you have more grace than grit, then what are we getting done?
I would say to you is that we got to show up as the moment is requesting us to show up. Because I also understand there are people who are saying, I have just went through a traumatic experience, or I am going through changes in life right now, or whatever it may be, a myriad of things, right? Or I need to go and grind, whatever it may be, because that's what I'm supposed to do. I remember our pastor in Louisville, Kentucky. He, Pastor Cosby, I remember this boy was doing 6 services every weekend, going hard. I mean, that was he was balancing his purpose, going hard. And then one day he had a heart attack or passed out on stage. And so he had to learn, wait a minute, I was not doing the balance so well, and I was giving a lot of grit, and I was then giving myself enough grace. So you're right, I don't think a person can do it day after day, but I do think we need to have a balance of grit and grace. But we just need to find what that balance is. Because I think about, and I wanted to ask you about this, I think about being a parent and how difficult that must be every day to be like, I need to have this grit, but you also are asking your child to give you grace, or your partner, your whatever, to give you grace. So talk to me a little bit, because you have that reference point of being a parent that I do not. So how do you balance that all out with having grit and building that big career, and also being thoughtful of how do you engage your child in that experience?
Well, I'll just talk about the balance in parenting. So even outside of having a career too. So the balance, particularly being a single woman, a single Black woman raising a young Black man, right? Oftentimes you feel like you have to balance being mama and daddy, right? You feel like you have to be this perfect balance of soft and feminine, and then tough and disciplinarian, right? And insert some level of masculinity. Otherwise, what they tell us, your son gonna be soft, or, the things that they say to us to discourage us from being feminine and nurturing, which we are by nature, right? So I think that there's some balance you have to learn in that. Today, I actually just learned a valuable lesson about that balance. You know, my son's father and I hadn't done the best job of co-parenting for the first, well, my son's 20 years of his life. We haven't always done that very well. The dance has always been, we've stepped on each other's toes quite a bit. Today, when my son's father called me to say, hey, you know, he's been with me the last couple of days. He's going to stay with me. We got him in this program where he's working with students. And he, you know, he can focus on, you know, buying his own car, and he can focus on buying his own home at some point. And if he decides to come back to Oregon, then he's going to come back better. I was like, look at this balance. Because, yeah, I did it for 20 years. Maybe he's going to do it for the next 20. Was that what I envisioned? Absolutely not. I thought it was supposed to be everyday balance, everyday co-parenting. I give 50%, you give 50%. Financially, you give this, you know, financially, I give that. But that was not what was in store for our parenting story. And so now I smile because I don't know what to do with a 20-year-old young man. And I can now rely on his father for this balancing act. And so I think like it goes back to what you, I think it goes back to what you said at the very, very beginning. At some point, you have to decide with intentionality what your balancing act is going to look like. At some point, I had to decide I don't have to be the daddy. I don't have to be masculine. I don't have to be super disciplinarian. I can inject, you know, all of me into parenting. And then when it's time, the balancing act or everything kind of balances in, you know, him taking over. That's just how it worked out for us. So
that's a unique perspective. You know how we have those topics that we said we left on the table that we need to come back to. I want to revisit because you went on a whole, you went on the whole thing that I was like, wait, I want to dig into that. But what I heard when we think about balance, I heard that sometimes we have to give up control, and that is part of giving some balance. We have to give some things that we think we need to hold on to, that we need to hold close to us. Sometimes we got to let it go and let someone else have it. And that's part of getting to that better place of what balance looks like to us. Remember, the last thing in the list was realize that balance comes from being true to yourself. And sometimes you got to say, self, I can't take this on anymore. I can't handle this anymore. I need some help. I need to let this go. And I need someone else to intervene, or I need them to intervene on themselves. Because sometimes the intervention is you need to intervene on yourself, person that you're working with, right? Whoever that person is, right? Or whatever that thing is, okay? It'll work itself out, right? So, but I love that you said that. But for me, I got from that, sometimes you got to say, I can't control this anymore. I can't do this. And I need to say, to get my balance back, hey, I need to back away from this, or I need to let this situation go. Yeah, I love it.
You know, I think about, you know, all the hard work that we're doing with the Black DEIBA Collective. I think about you every single day. You know, I could push really hard and say, hey, Dee, did you do this, do this, do this? And what good does that do for you to say in the next couple of weeks, hey, I've been doing too much and I'm not going to be able to continue with the show? I would hate for that to happen. And to avoid that being an option, when I think about balance with us, I think about that too. What can I do? What can I take off of your plate today so that you can just show up as the talent? Because at some point I may have to ask you for the same thing. So I think that that's really important.
Yeah, I think so too. Okay, I got a fun question for you. Okay, as we talk today about balance. Okay. Would you rather go to a Jay-Z concert or a Beyonce concert?
A Jay-Z concert.
You are a diehard Jay-Z fan.
First of all, if we say I'm a fan, you know who I am really a fan of. I probably should even say it on the show. I'll let y'all figure it out.
Don't say it. Don't say it. Don't say it. There we go.
You know who I'm a super fan of. I just, you know, I think because I was on a spiritual fast during last August, I missed the whole Renaissance wave. I don't know any of those songs. So I don't even feel like I know Beyonce anymore. I know.
I'm acting like I didn't hear that. And anyone who's on the show, she said it now twice. I told her to stop saying that before we get canceled. People will be like, you doesn't know the Beyonce. People are going to start writing the BI, the swarm.
If y'all will send me a ticket so I can get introduced to the culture, then I will definitely go. All right, I have a fun question for you. So on this this theme, this spirit of balancing, what do you do to unplug?
Oh, I am, you know me, I love a good Housewives or a cooking show. I love to just sit on my couch and not veg out on some like good popcorn, good cheddar. I have this spicy cheddar popcorn, yum, and just veg out And yes, that is my unplug and curl up and cuddle up with Boo if that's happening. But yes, it's really, yes, it's my downtime.
Hey, well, this is perfect. I think this has been a great conversation, but I did want to leave you all with a few things just in the workplace to remind, you, of course, to balance your own balancing act, but as leaders, particularly remind your team to unplug, give employees space to actually connect as well. Educate employees on their benefits. I think that's really important so they know how they can continue to balance outside of work. I'm gonna do it one day. Check in with your direct reports, of course. Set an example for your team. There's so many leaders out there that are like, yes, you need to balance and unplug, but they always have their laptop. They're always working. So make sure that you're setting a good example for your team as well. So I'll pass it back to you, Dee, for the shout out of the day.
Yes, the shout of the day is one of our dear friends, Chelsea Jennings, who had a really interesting, tough year last year, but she has got a new position as the executive director of organizational effectiveness at JP Morgan Chase, which is a fabulous company. And I just want to give a shout out to her because, like I said, when I think about someone who has had to balance a lot of challenges in the last year, she's done it, and she's done it so well and looking so great. So kudos to Chelsea on the new role out there. And go follow her. She also has a podcast called, oh, I should know it now, but you'll go follow her on LinkedIn and they'll tell you about her podcast. Yes.
I think it's called Unsilence Her.
That's exactly what it's called. You've been on it before. Yes.
So many shows. Well, shout out to Chelsea. Shout out to you. Thank you for, again, finding time to balance all of your education, your time, your energy, your love to this passion project of ours. Thank you all for also balancing your time and joining us for a lively lunchtime conversation at 12 p.m. Pacific, 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Every single weekday, DEIB are here for you to give you your daily dose of DEIB on the Black DEIBA Collective. We appreciate you. Thank you for your support. And don't forget to donate to our Indiegogo to send us to Afrotech. We will make sure we drop the link for you all. Y'all have a great day and a great week. Thank you.